All right, welcome to this explainer. I am absolutely thrilled you're here today because we are diving into something that is fundamentally reshaping how developers, startups, and honestly, even governments are building software right now. Think of this as your definitive travel guide for finding, navigating, and safely downloading today's top open-weight AI models, the frontier of artificial intelligence. It's no longer locked away behind the closed doors of a few massive tech giants. It is out in the wild, and today we are going to map that territory together.
So, here is our roadmap for the journey. We're going to start with the rise of open-weight models, take a tour of Hugging Face, which is the giant hub, navigate the very real danger of fake repos, figure out how to do a local run with Llama and Edge, and finally, look at cloud access and API gateways.
Okay, let's dive right into Section 1, the rise of open-weight models, or what's really becoming the new baseline of intelligence. We are literally living in a totally new reality right now. Frontier capabilities, the kind of raw intelligence that just a few years ago cost billions to develop and was highly restricted, that is now the new baseline. It's out there, no longer locked behind closed APIs. But, that brings up a super practical challenge. If you're a developer, an enterprise, or even just an enthusiast who wants to build something amazing, where do you actually find today's top open-weight models? Where do you go to pull the files and the weights you need to get started? Well, before we talk about where to go, let's look at what you're actually looking for. These are the absolute heavy hitters of 2026. And what's truly wild here is just how global this ecosystem is now. We've got Meta's Llama 4, specifically those natively multimodal Scout and Maverick models, representing a massive push from the US. Then over in Europe, we have France's Mistral 3, including their crazy efficient Ministral Edge models and their massive Large 3 Mixture of Experts model. And from Chinese research teams, we're seeing incredible advancements with DeepSeek V4's Pro and Flash models, not to mention Moonshot's Kimi K2.6, which is literally setting new standards for agentic coding. It's this massive, diverse global push making high-end AI accessible to everyone.
Moving right along to Section 2. Hugging Face, the giant hub. This is really the grand bazaar of OpenAI.
If you want to download any of these heavy hitters, your absolute first stop is going to be Hugging Face. The sheer unprecedented concentration of computational power sitting on this single platform is just mind-boggling. Hugging Face is the one-stop shop where all these massive, diverse architectures just live side by side. You've got DeepSeek V4 Flash, Mistral Large 3, Llama 4 Scout, and Google's Llama 4 all hosted under one roof. It is an incredible centralization of open-source knowledge. Now, what's really fascinating about this dynamic is that this open ecosystem has become so powerful, so undeniable, that even the traditionally closed labs are getting in on it. Get this, OpenAI has actually joined the open-weight era. They released frontier models named GPT-5.4 120B and GPT-5.4 20B directly onto Hugging Face under an Apache 2.0 license. That right there proves that frontier capability simply can't be kept exclusively behind a closed API anymore.
All right, Section 3. The danger of fake repos and how to safely navigate the hazards of the hub.
So here's the catch. An open bazaar of this magnitude, it requires some serious vigilance. Because when literally anyone can upload code and weights, the ecosystem instantly becomes a prime target for malicious actors. 244,000. That is the staggering number of downloads a single, highly malicious repository racked up in just 18 hours after hitting Hugging Face's trending list. Let's break down exactly how this supply chain attack worked, just so you know exactly what to look out for. The attackers essentially impersonated OpenAI's newly released privacy filter model. Step 1. An unsuspecting user clones the malicious repo, which was deceptively named OpenOSS/privacy filter. Seems legit, right? Step 2. Following the repo's fake instructions, the user runs a startup script, maybe a start.bat file on Windows or a loader.py script from Mac and Linux. The second that script executes, it silently disables SSL verification and decodes a URL hosted on a public service called JSON Keeper. This dead drop then allows the attackers to deploy a really nasty Rust-based information stealer directly onto the machine. It's pulling credentials and data all while the user just thinks they're booting up a cool new AI model. And I really want to emphasize this. That was not an isolated incident. Threat intelligence teams actually identified several other fake repositories using a very similar Python loader to drop stealers. Do you notice a pattern here? Repositories under the username AntFoo were masquerading as super highly sought-after models like DeepSeek V4 Pro or these uncensored versions of Llama 4. The absolutely crucial takeaway here is vigilance. You have got to verify the publisher's official Hugging Face account. Look for the real DeepSeek or meta-organization tags before you ever clone a repository or run a script.
Okay, Section 4, Local Run, Llama and Edge. This is all about bringing intelligence offline.
So, the crucial point is, once you safely downloaded these models, where do you actually run them? Increasingly, developers are pulling this intelligence entirely offline to secure their workflows. You've essentially got a trade-off between two paradigms here. On one side, there's the local or edge paradigm, using tools like Llama, Google AI Edge, or Unsloth AI. This gives you total privacy, zero latency waiting on the internet, and complete control over your data. Then, on the flip side, you have the cloud API paradigm, using gateways like Cloudflare, Amazon Bedrock, or Azure. That gives you massive scale, ultimate convenience, and access to insane hardware you probably don't own, but obviously it requires sending your data out.
Honestly, what's amazing right now is how software optimizations have basically outpaced Moore's Law, making that local paradigm so incredibly viable. Just look at some of these techniques. Google's Llama 4 uses multi-token prediction or MTP drafters. This is a speculative decoding trick that decouples generation from verification, literally giving a 3x speedup on local edge devices without sacrificing reasoning quality. Then you have Kimi K2.6, which uses quantization-aware training to run natively in INT4 precision. That means you can run a frontier agent-tick model locally right on a MacBook using a Llama. No way we could do that a year ago. And DeepSeek V4 Flash uses mixed quantization, compressing the bulk of its weights to these tiny IQ2_XXS sizes while keeping the important attention layers at Q8. It lets you squeeze a massive 284 billion parameter architecture directly into consumer hardware. Now, this massive push for local optimization isn't just to help out weekend hobbyists. It's actually being heavily driven by a massive geopolitical and economic force called sovereign AI. This is a strategic requirement, which is actually being codified into procurement laws across the US and Europe right now, stating that governments and big enterprises must deploy auditable, domestically hosted AI models. They desperately need systems that can run completely offline in air-gapped classified environments with absolutely zero dependency on foreign vendors or closed APIs that could just be shut off overnight. Open-weight models running locally are literally the exact solution to this problem. Which brings us to Section 5, Cloud Access and API Gateways, focusing on enterprise-scale deployment. Now look, if you don't actually need a strict air-gapped environment and you really don't want the headache of managing massive GPU clusters yourself, cloud APIs are the way to go, and this really shows how deeply integrated open-weight models have become in the enterprise world. Just check out the cloud footprint for Mistral 3. It's practically everywhere. You've got Amazon Bedrock, Azure Foundry, IBM watsonx, plus all the specialized serverless providers like Modal, Together AI, and Fireworks. Mistral has worked super closely with NVIDIA and VLM to optimize these models for scale, so you're getting incredibly high throughput and low latency deployments across the board.
And we are seeing the exact same trend with the other major players. Kimi K2.6 had day zero integration with serverless providers like Cloudflare Workers AI and Based-In. And hey, if you want to run OpenAI's open-weight releases, Azure AI Foundry is actively hosting GPT-5.4 120B and 20B right now. These API gateways have just made it so incredibly frictionless. If a shiny new better open-weight model drops tomorrow, developers can seamlessly swap it into their standard endpoints without having to re-architect their entire tech stack. It's a real game changer. Which leaves us with this really provocative thought from a recent research paper on the end of the foundation model era. Quote, foundation models have become infrastructure, and every sophisticated operator of infrastructure ensures it does not depend on a single supplier. The territory we've mapped out today proves that you absolutely no longer have to depend on just one supplier. You've got choices. You now have the map to find incredible open-weight models, the street smarts to avoid the traps, and the tools to run them either entirely locally or scaled up in the cloud. So the only question left for you is, how are you going to utilize this new decentralized infrastructure to build your next great idea? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep exploring.